So when looking at the Western Conference and the playing situation going on, there's a lot of good basketball that's going to be played. And you're looking at the Golden State Warriors, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and LA Clippers. Only a game separates them from the sixth spot. The reason why that's so important because if you're in the playing situation, you got to play to make the playoffs as a seventh or eighth seed. And if you lose that one, you got to play to just get into the playoffs. So obviously you want to avoid that situation. But looking at how teams are playing, Golden State's been great ever since they got Jimmy Butler. Minnesota is fresh off an 8-game winning streak. I know they just lost to Indiana on Monday, but they play the Pelicans the next 2 games, so they're turning it right around. And then you have the Clippers. They look really good with Kawhi Leonard. He's healthy. Hopefully that stays the same come playoff time, knock on wood, because you look at Kawhi Leonard right now, he's been really, really good in the month of March. He's at 25 points, shooting 50% from the field, or really pretty much 51%, 40% from three. They played the Cavs the other night on Tuesday, 33 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. So if we get playoff Kawhi and he doesn't get hurt after game one, it's going to be a dogfight, whoever matches up with the Clippers. Even OKC. Now, I don't think they can beat OKC because it's just going to be hard to overcome SGA in that defense. But I think they could push them to maybe 6 games. But if they match up with like the Grizzlies or the Rockets, the Clippers have a really good chance of winning the first round. No doubt about it, especially if Kawhi's healthy. Because you look at the Rockets, the best player in that series is going to be Kawhi Leonard if he's healthy. You still have James Harden facilitating. I think they brought in, Bogdanovich. That was a really, I think, a good pickup for them because you have more shooting out there. And you still have Zubats. And you have your Norman Powell, who is going to be solid. Ben Simmons, I'm not really going to spend too much time on him, but Derrick Jones Jr., he just made the NBA Finals last year, had a great run with the Mavericks. So the Clippers, they're a sleeper right now. If they keep playing good basketball down the stretch, let's just look at their schedule real quick and see what they got coming up. They got Memphis. That's a big game on Friday. You got OKC on Sunday. Tough games. These aren't easy. You got to go to New York. Hard schedule for the Clippers coming up. For the next 5, really 5 the next 6 games if you want to count Orlando. I think Orlando's just having a rough year. That's going to tell me everything about LA. If they can go 5-1 during this stretch, yikes, the Clippers could be very scary come playoff time. And all these games are going to matter even more. So, they got a tough stretch of games coming up. But if they can survive it and, they have a good run, they're going to be feeling good about themselves. Now, going to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they just got off that 8-game winning streak. We know that they lost to Indiana the other night. That's going to happen. But just looking at their schedule coming up, they got the Pelicans in back-to-back games. Then you go to Indiana. You'll probably get that game back because you obviously want to perform better. Usually when you lose to that opponent, you come back a week or 2 later, you end up winning. So I think Minnesota will win their next probably 4 games. Then you got Detroit at home. That's a young basketball team. They're good. But if Minnesota can close strong, and I think they will, the schedule isn't terrible for them. You got the Pelicans twice. Got to go to Indiana. Got Phoenix. Got Detroit. Got to go to Denver. They've been smoking Denver. I think the last 2 games, they've just been annihilated. As you see in Denver, they won by 20 on March 12th. Then you got to go to Brooklyn. Philly's tanking. Brooklyn's also tanking. Milwaukee would be a fun game. Then you got Memphis. See, this game is important because if Memphis starts to slide a little bit and Minnesota's like a game out of like the 5th spot, that's going to be intriguing to watch. So I think for Minnesota, they have a very easy schedule down the stretch. And if they just stay focused, it helps to have Dante DiVincenzo back. I know he had some injuries earlier. McDaniels has been looking better on offense. And the defense has been solid. So that's a good sign for Minnesota. Now, going to the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, I'm not going to dismiss Anthony Edwards. He's been fantastic. Like, the dude is just unbelievable. But look at the Warriors. Ever since they acquired Jimmy Butler, let's go to the day they had him against Chicago. His first game. I think it was in February, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was in January. No, it wasn't January. It was February. They were 25-26. And look at them now. They're 40-29. So they're 15-3 ever since they traded for Jimmy Butler. And we haven't seen playoff Jimmy yet. That's going to be a scary sight to see. Now, looking at their schedule, Toronto, Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, San Antonio, those should all be winnable games. Then you got to go to Memphis. This is going to be an important game. Got to go to LA. Again, another important one. Denver and Houston. That stretch right there for Golden State. They got to at least go 3-1 because right now it's so tight between the 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. And if we see Memphis drop off a little bit, or the Lakers, because they're trying to deal with LeBron's groin injury. Now, he's expected to come back next week, but we shall see. And then we'll see if Denver can pick it back up because their defense last week was just not good and losing to the Wizards. They just had some bad games. So we'll see if they're better at that point. But as you can see, they're at home. And then you have Houston at home. You have to feel good about that because Houston's an experience. And we'll see where the Rockets are at. I know they're playing better right now, but we'll see if they can sustain this momentum. A lot of unknowns right now out west. And it's exciting because, matchups are going to matter in the playoffs. In my opinion, if I'm the Warriors, I probably want to avoid the Nuggets in the first round just because Jokic is a lot to deal with. And I don't know if they can match up with the Nuggets, but we shall see. Obviously, the biggest thing is going to be Jamal Murray because if he doesn't show up in that series against Golden State, I think the Warriors take them out because they need him to play good basketball against Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, especially if Jimmy since he's that playoff riser. And if you're not matching his output, you're not beating Golden State. And then if Golden State matches up in Memphis or Houston, I like that matchup for them. The Lakers, I'm not so sure about, but that's going to be a toss-up series. It would be fun basketball, but I hope we get that in the second round of the Western Conference Finals. And then you look at Minnesota. I mean, this is a scary team as well. If they continue to play good basketball, their defense continues to, pick up. And Anthony Edwards taking over games. You have Jaden McDaniels being reliable on offense at times. And then if Julius Randle can be a playoff riser, that's the biggest X factor for me. If he plays well in the playoffs and you're matching up with Denver, Houston, or Memphis, you got to feel good about that. Even the Lakers, because, these teams are playing really good right now. The Clippers, I think the best matchup for them would be Memphis or Houston, in my opinion. I think Denver, LA just takes them out. But it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen down the stretch. I think Minnesota or Golden State, they have a good chance of moving up. Depending on how Memphis looks, I just want to see their schedule real quick, and then we'll wrap it up shortly. But Memphis, they got Portland. That's not an easy one because Portland's probably trying to make a push for the play-in spot. You got to go to LA. Utah, that's winnable. But then you got to go to OKC. You got the Lakers, the Celtics, the Warriors. That's a tough stretch. And then to close it out, you got Minnesota. And at Detroit. You got Minnesota at home and at Denver. So I don't know if Denver's going to be resting guys by then. I don't think Minnesota's going to be resting guys. Detroit might not be resting anybody either. So that's a tough way to close the season out for Memphis. Then you're going to the Lakers. Again, I don't think they'll fall off too much. But again, they played Denver tonight. Then they got Milwaukee tomorrow. We'll see if LeBron's back by next week against Orlando. So the schedule isn't terrible for the Lakers. Yes, they go to Memphis. They got Houston at home, Golden State. We'll see if OKC is going to be playing their guys. They might be just resting by then. So the Lakers, I don't expect them to fall off. And, I just think the Lakers will be fine. Then looking at the Rockets down the stretch of the season, they got to go to Orlando, Miami, Denver at home, Atlanta at Utah, at Phoenix. Their schedule isn't terrible. So I think Houston should be fine. So the biggest one you want to look out for is going to be Memphis. Can Memphis sustain that top 5 spot? Because I'm telling you right now, Minnesota, if the Clippers can, get through that one stretch of games, it's a tough stretch for them. In Golden State, those teams are playing really good at the right time. It's going to be interesting to see. If I had to pick who I think survives the playing spot, I'm going to lean towards Minnesota because their schedule is easier down the stretch, but I'm not going to count out Golden State. It's going to be fun. The Clippers, I don't see it because they have a tough stretch of games coming up, and we'll see if they're going to rest Kawhi at all. I still think they can be dangerous in the playoffs if they get the right matchup. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Love to hear your thoughts about how Minnesota, Golden State, and the Clippers are playing. Who do you think makes it out of the playing spot? And do you think any of these teams could be in the top 5 in the West by the time we wrap up the regular season? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.